Rock Hard, 1977. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe. Today we'll be going over Rock Hard 1977 and how it plays with 2 players. Now this is a 2 to 5 player competitive game where you will be a budding rock star performing over 9 months to try to get your chops in the best state you can, write the most songs and get the most rep, and hopefully by the end of the game you have earned the most fame. So let's see a little bit more how to play. So in Rock Hard, you're going to start off kind of building your character. You get a couple choices in the character you choose. It may be a bassist, it may be a lead guitar, it may be a singer. You're going to get a choice of, well, you do have to have an ordinary job for a little while before you can become a professional musician. You're going to get a manager. You're going to get some personal goals. You're going to get a little bit of a starting life experience. So it's kind of interesting to build out your character a little bit more thematic in nature, starting this kind of worker placement game. But after that, it does become into a kind of a cycle. You have 9 months, and each month is going to have a day phase, a night phase, and then an after hours phase. And you pick one of those places on the board to do that action. And then once everybody is placed, then you're going to move on to the next one. So you're going to have these songs and chops and reputation, almost kind of like your resources over on your board. And you may even you're going to start off with $1. And over the course of the game, you're going to get these sweet dollars so you can pay different people and get a record deal. But you're going to be placing. The day phase has a lot of, hiring some promos, hire some roadies, hire the crew, do a little bit of rehearsing. The day phase is kind of normal. And then you're going to perform. You can do some of these random gigs that may be out here. You can do some of the events if you meet the prerequisites. Or if you can't do those and can't perform at the big stadium, maybe you just want to write a song or donate blood. There's a couple spots that you can always use. And then the after hours is kind of a Ameritrash version of the you go to a place that you kind of need. You may want a certain symbol for some set collection, but you're really going to see what kind of happens. What are you going to do backstage? Now, there are a couple things to keep in mind. So once again, you place in the day, everybody places in the day, then you go to the night, and then the after hours. But then do you want to go to your job? Your job is kind of how you make money, but you may have to do your job at night, so you may not be able to perform all the time. But as a rambunctious musician, you can definitely just skip your job, and you got to kind of get this missed work token. And after 3 missed work tokens, you discard it, and you're a professional musician through and through. That's kind of the gameplay loop. There is potential for extra actions if you spend some of this candy, getting the candy and doing some of that. But there are just various ways to score, whether it's points on performance, end game bonuses, you have your own personal goals, some set collection, and some various ways around the board that you can try to eke out those couple last minute points. And once again, 9 months, and then whoever has the most fame by the end of those 9 months wins the game. So let's see a little bit more what I thought about the game. So the rules and references really weren't that hard. I love the thematic rules. The rule book was fairly straightforward for somebody who's just used to worker placement. There's not a whole lot to it. Everybody places their worker here. Then you place your worker on the next one, and you always have some always available actions. Really, the rules not hard at all. They give you a nice little turn structure card, and I really love a reference sheet on these, and then the back side tells you all these symbols, but you really don't even need these symbols because they're all pretty straightforward. The components, actually really nice. I like the standees. They kind of add a little bit extra. I love the player boards. I love being able to turn these dials, and it's funny, you can turn all the dials up to 11, classic, and everything just feels nice. And even this money feels like I'm doling out some ones when I'm going to getting paid after a concert, or I need to pay my record deal and record label to go to certain action spaces. So just a lot of fun, a lot of little nuggets in the rules, references, and components of this game. So setup and table size. Setup is going to take you slightly longer than normal. You do have to shuffle 5 versions of cards. You have to make your random gig deck. You have the event deck. You have the performance bonuses at the end of the game. You have the personal goals, the job, the manager, the starting character, the life experience. It's kind of a lot to get there as far as just different decks to shuffle together. But as far as the setup, other than that goes, fairly straightforward. This can be played on a 3x3, be a little bit tight for 2 players, but it really doesn't take up a ton of table space either. So let's go into the gameplay. And this is where the heavy gameplay really doesn't quite exist. There's not a ton of think tank that you're going to need from your brain. You're not going to need a ton of brain power, but it is thematic, and that's what resonates with me. Is when we play a game, I really like the game to scream the theme literally. And this does have like you can be a lead singer and just kind of see the journey, kind of play out the journey. You're going to these different places. Do you want to record a song right off the bat? You can just picture your musician playing the song. It's really fun when you want to do something during one of these phases, but your job is saying you need to come to work, and you're like, nah, I'm gonna miss work today. Just that kind of rebellious, attitude in this game is fun. A lot of the hangout places, when you flip over a card, it usually gives you a bonus. Some of them are just kind of hit or miss, but it does give you a little flavor text in there, and you really do feel kind of attached by the end of what you did. These event cards can slowly go through the game. It just changes from round to round, those event cards. The random gigs, you can be playing at a frat party. But as you play through some of these things, they just kind of match up a little bit. The choreographer is going to cost a little bit of money if you hire it, but it'll give you some more songs. You can play at a frat party, and they may not have the most money to give you, but what they do have is some of this candy, which can be extra actions. So it really is thematic. You can really get into the game. You do have to pay a manager, and it kind of feels bad paying the man, but they're kind of helping you out throughout the game. Each character has a little bit different ability on them. They weren't very game breaking. The back of the card does have a nice backstory. The personal goals. So there are a lot of nothing in this game, especially on the gameplay, is very hard. There are a lot of different facets, which I think is what kind of draws the gamer back to the game is, how can I kind of maximize this but still build the story of my character? This is not for the heavy Euro player. This is not for the player who wants to gather their resources, maybe go all in on songs. I'm afraid to do some of these, the record deals. You're going to have to be a baseline of the chops, reputation, and songs. Once again, your resources. You're going to have to be a baseline level of that to get a bonus. You're going to have to be a baseline level at Carter Stadium or some of these other bigger stadiums to get these bigger bonuses. So there aren't a lot of varied ways to play, but that's not who this game is meant for. This game's meant for the people who want to get in, build up their rock star, and by the end say, look at what we did. Oh, we performed, we headlined here, we went out to these after bars. I kind of went a candy list strategy, and I was really clean the whole time. So just kind of a fun gameplay loop, very thematic, but not as heavy as some people may like. So how does Rock Hard play with 2 players? It plays pretty well. The one thing it adds is this extra kind of card. It tells you where to put these blocking pawns on the board, and they're just going to block some spaces every round. It's going to change. There's not much more to it than that. I wish I could give you more. It's going to change the game. It's just going to block spaces. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that. and it was fine. Just a little bit of overhead at the beginning of the game. But overall, with 2 players, I had a good time. Once again, it's for the person who wants to build up a thematic story about a rock star. And that is what it accomplishes at 2 players. It would accomplish it at 5 players. You're just going to have different kind of ways it can play out. But once again, at 2 players, the only thing it really added was putting cubes and blocking spaces. Other than that, it was the first person to get some of these bonuses would get 5 points and the other person would get 0. So the bonuses in a 2-player game are a little bit more crucial as far as crunchiness in the game. But the game as a whole is going to play very similar from 2 to 5 players. So a very, very thematic rock-based, heavy metal game. It's not the heaviest, and I know I keep iterating that. It's not very hard to get to the table, but it is still a lot of fun. So that's my review on Rock Hard 1977, and until next time.